Ghana, in West Africa, was one of the main areas from where captured Africans were trafficked and enslaved. After centuries of the slave trade, abolitionists tried to show Europeans and people in the New World that the Africans among them were human beings like them. The memory of the millions who perished on the voyages across the ocean has been lost. Ghanaian artist Kwame Akoto Bamfo is trying to resurrect that forgotten part of history. Kwame?
Hello, Mr. Jackson.
Oh, Sam, man.
Oh, great.
So let's look at what you got.
Okay.
Are these just normally out like this?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's concrete actually. And so far, like our people, very resilient.
All right.
Each person, each sculpture has a story.
So this is a story of the people who were on those ships.
Yeah. So right ahead, this is the enslaved African section. In total, I'm hoping to have 11,111 figures.
How many are here now?
Currently, we have about close to 1,500.
Wow.
Traditionally, in African art and African religion, the head represents everything, your soul, your being. It has your eyes, and you can have all the expressions.
Okay.
And it is considered the seat of your soul.
Mm-hmm.
So in the faces, you can see the identity. You can see that these people were actually living beings, and you can relate to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that I'm trying to capture.
So who are these faces?
Well, these are faces of actual people that I meet, that I find interesting. People that I'm hoping look like their ancestors who were captured, enslaved from the motherland, from Africa. I'm trying to have as many faces as possible. Hopefully you can see your uncle in there, you can see your kid brother, and then you can also see your mother.
Yeah, it's crazy because I can just look in just one section right here, and I can identify people that I know.
It's painful because it's about these people that have become insignificant over the years. And that is exactly why I'm doing this, trying to get a piece of all of these people back.
Mallory has plotted to dive a little further out of the ocean this time, as the wreckage of the London may have drifted away from land over time.
Then there it was. It was a huge object. It was an old mooring anchor, positioned outside the harbor, providing incoming ships stability out at sea. Its make and design correspond with the timeline of the London, and some of the local records mention the mooring anchor being out there at the time.
I saw it, and I thought, well, hold on. Now I know why Captain Robinson came out to Rapparee Cove instead of going into the harbor. He wanted to tie himself to the mooring anchor. He wanted safety without scrutiny. And I think I know exactly what he was afraid of. So, from what I've been reading and researching, I think a reason why the captain may have been apprehensive about coming into Ilfracombe is because 4 years earlier, there was this case. Captain Kimber, he had done something terrible. You're out on a ship. You have your slaves down below in really inhumane, terrible conditions. And they need the slaves to arrive strong. And they would, what you call, dance the slaves. And there was this girl, this slave girl. This girl, as it was reported, was Christian, and she had been ordered to take off her clothes and dance, and she didn't want to, obviously not. And Captain Kimber wasn't going to have any of this. From her, tied her ankle to a rope from the mast, pulled her up and down. Over and over and over and over. Until she died. He killed her that way. The surgeon saw this and was horrified. When they got back, the surgeon reported this. He couldn't stay quiet. And at that point, the tide started to turn. And there was a cartoon drawn of this girl being dropped on the deck, and Captain Kimber is watching, and this was in the homes of many, many, many Englishmen, and they saw this girl as a human. And so Captain Kimber went to trial. And this had never been heard of before, and everybody was watching. This was a really big case. But unfortunately, he was acquitted. However, it became the catalyst of, you need to treat slaves like they're people and not like their cargo. And I think that's exactly why the captain of the London was hesitant to come into harbor.
Who knows how this captain had been treating his slaves? Maybe there was something he wanted to hide.
He had re-enslaved free people, and the world was not going to sit back and ignore it anymore.
We've dove and investigated sunken slave ships all over the world. And now, hearing of our work, we've been invited to Washington, D.C. to meet a very special person. The legendary civil rights leader, Congressman John Lewis.
How many times have you been arrested?
During the 60s, I got arrested 40 times for sitting in at lunch counters in restaurants, going on the freedom ride. We were arrested, we were jailed, we were beaten, we were left bloody, left unconscious, just by sitting in places that only white people were supposed to sit.
You remember the first time you were arrested?
I remember the first time I was arrested. I can never, ever forget it. I felt free.
Free?
I felt liberated. Because my mother, my father, and grandparents had said, stay out of trouble, don't get in trouble. And I got in trouble. What I call good trouble, necessary trouble.
I didn't quite understand my own history. I have so many questions that each time I go diving, some of it gets answered. We dove and saw relics, remnants of the chaos, of the brutality, of the abuse. Sometimes it's just too much, but we have to tell this story. This story needs to be told.
And that's where I guess I'm stuck, right? All of the places that we've been, you can see the beauty of it and the wonder of it. You see these islands or shorelines, when we were in Suriname, we're standing on the shoreline of the most beautiful scenery that you ever wanted to see, but to know that 680 Africans were murdered within a couple of hundred yards of the shoreline, I'm conflicted all the time.
I understand very well what you're saying. And we cannot sweep it under the rug. We got to bring it all out. Make it plain. And we have an obligation, a mission, a mandate to do just that. So the whole world can feel this. Keep the faith. Don't give up.
No, sir.
Never that. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide. Welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise.